Hello and welcome to episode 7 of AAGT Informs. We are so glad to have you join us for this timely discussion on anxiety and frustration. Hopefully you will leave today knowing you are not alone and also equipped with helpful tools. We hope that you will engage with us in the chat as we go through these exercises and utilize the Q&A feature so we can address any questions you may have. If you're enjoying this free series, please consider supporting AAGT by joining as a member. Membership dues help us continue to provide resources and webinars like these as a service to all gifted supporters in Arizona. Plus, as an added bonus, we are continually adding fantastic members-only perks such as Renzulli Learning. Renzulli Learning and AAGT have established a partnership to share resources with homes and classrooms for gifted, talented, twice exceptional, and all students. Renzulli Learning helps to increase a child's engagement in learning by focusing on their strengths, empowering children as they direct their own learning, leading to increased self-confidence. Educators can sign up for Renzulli Learning Classroom for a 6-month free trial, and parents will receive a 1-year free subscription, Renzulli Learning Home Edition. And that is all included as part of your AAGT membership. So head over to our website and join as a member today. Make sure you join us for our 2020 AAGT Parent Institute on October 17th. And it's going to be featuring Otto Siegel, our speaker today, plus other breakout sessions. This is all virtual, so you'll have access to all of the sessions and recordings as we all discover the joys of being gifted. So register today. And as a reminder, we are still looking for breakout sessions. So if you are a teacher, parent, or anyone who would like to share their insights with families of gifted children, please head over to our website and submit your proposal. Be sure to register early for next week's AAGT Informs, Episode 8, Problem-Based Learning, The Cure for the Common Classroom with Dr. Jason McIntosh. Many of our attendees have asked for PBL resources, and we know Jason will have fun, high-quality, problem-based learning scenarios and units of study that you can take back to your classroom. Can everybody hear me? I'm seeing that people are having audio issues. Okay. Just making sure it wasn't my microphone. All right, well, I'm very happy to introduce today's speaker, Otto Siegel, owner and CEO of Genius Coaching in Scottsdale. He works with highly intelligent misfits and their families to help them overcome behavioral challenges and uncover hidden brilliance. I would also like to introduce some very special guests and very dear to my heart, my 2 kids, Riley and Gavin. And so we're all going to participate together in engaging discussion on anxiety and frustration. So welcome to Otto and welcome to my kids. And I'm also here too. I'm Heather Long, the Executive Director for AAGT.
Okay. Thank you so much, Heather, for this introduction, and welcome everybody on this call. And thank you for coming. I want to start this conversation with one statement. All of you on this video event are very valuable people. All of your children are valuable people. Do we agree on that? I am here to add value to the existing value already. And today's topic is something that everybody suffers around the globe in one form or another: anxiety and frustration. So let's study this enemy and see if it is an enemy, but also let's have a quick look what kind of forms and shapes anxiety can take. That's why I like to interact with you, family, the family of Heather and the two kids. What does anxiety mean to you? How does it show up in your life? Who would like to go first?
Do you ever feel anxiety?
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah.
What does it feel like to you?
It's just like overwhelming. Sometimes like it kind of just, when I'm feeling really anxious, it just takes over like my whole body and mind and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just like an overwhelming feeling, I guess.
Yeah, you feel it physically?
Yeah, like sometimes it's worse than others, and it's like you can feel it more physically, like shaking,
Mm-hmm.
just feeling like you can't breathe, things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
My face gets hot. Does you ever get that?
yeah.
My face is really hot right now because
Yeah.
I'm always nervous when I'm talking to people.
Yeah.
So, Gavin, you ever have a stomach ache?
I just can't really, I feel like I can't breathe.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Do you start sweating too sometimes?
Sometimes,
I'm
yeah.
sweating a lot right now.
Right now. Anything else? Do you experience it more around school or more staying home or more about being online based learning now?
Usually when I'm at school, it's okay because I don't feel as anxious when I'm with other people. It's mostly when I'm alone and I can like start thinking more, like overthinking, I guess. With online school, I definitely felt anxious at the beginning because, with so many kids starting online school, there's a lot of issues with the schedules and just everyone trying to figure out what they're doing. So that was a little frustrating at first, but it's getting better now that everyone's kind of getting used to it. So.
What about you, Gavin?
I've been pretty fine with it, except it's really annoying jumping from class to class with only typically like a 15-minute break or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the same for online and in school, or mostly just the online?
Mostly just online.
Yeah.
Very good. How is it for you? Thank you, both of you, Gavin. That was wonderful. How is that for you as a parent, Heather? What anxieties do you experience?
For me, it's just, as a perfectionist at heart, not having full control over things and then wanting to make sure that my kids are successful as a parent. I feel a lot of pressure to make sure that they are successful, that their emotions and needs are met, and also creating optimism and making sure that they, it's like, this isn't the most ideal situation, but here's what we can do to continue working through this. And that definitely brings a lot of pressure on me as a parent, trying to make sure that everybody's needs are met for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing all this. Maybe you hear already in the audience the first nuggets. First of all, you have most anxiety when you're alone. That's what Gavin said and you said too. So first nugget, don't try to figure it out alone. It's not gonna happen. We all are social beings and we had enough suffering to do with the corona crisis to be isolated from each other. Whatever you can do to communicate with each other, that breaks the spell, the paralyzing effect of anxiety. So, and we can go around and could ask more and more. I will encourage you to use the chat function. Give us your variation of anxiety. What bothers you most? And then we can go back to this afterwards. So the good news is I have for you. Let's go to the core of this. How about that? To the biological roots. Because all the forms anxiety plays out in different lives, in different age groups, in different environments, there's one common cause. And that is right in the middle of our brain. Because we all have brains. And that's where it starts and that's where it ends. We might experience it be something in the outside causes it, yes, but the response is right in our own bodies. Our bodies tense up, our bodies get overwhelmed when this happens. So it's not a mystery. So let's go to the core and study on the inside what it is. So I brought an extra brain for you today, just in case we need one. Never have enough brains. And of course, let me go into the biology. I was a biology teacher for 17 years, 10 in Germany and 7 in Brazil. I love biology. And I love to explain why this works in the body. Asking for why in anxiety, why are you anxious, doesn't mean anything. We would rationalize it, explain it away. And every psychologist will tell you it's only a temporary relief. It does not go to the roots. That's why explanation will not cut it. Anxiety is physical, and that's why we need to address it where it is. So let's have a look. You all know left brain, right brain stories. The creative part on the right side, simplified. The analyzing part on the left side, simplified. What's not so well known when we open this whole nutshell, there's only this small connection between the two halves called corpus callosum, this part here in the middle. It's like a bottleneck between left and right side of the brain because these two halves need to communicate at any given moment as long as we are alive. What anxiety does as one of the key factors to shut down this bridge, slow it down or shut it down. And that means there's no free flow of information anymore between left and right side. That's where it kicks in what I call brain panic. Random thoughts, repetitive thoughts, circling around, overwhelming us with nonsense sometimes, and there seems to be no way out.
I call it freeway brain.
Yes, it's an information freeway. That's right on. Now the brain needs to communicate anyway. So what happens in this situation when anxiety shuts down the main freeway, it goes to detour mode down here to the brain stem. That's where all the reflexes are housed. It's also called the reptilian brain. So breathing, swallowing, heartbeat, all these vital reflexes wouldn't last 3 minutes without activity of this brain. However, it also houses the fight, flight, or freeze reflex, which means that has a lot of meaning in ancient times when you were attacked by a lion. You had to shut down your thinking and run for your life or fight back. For these situations, this reptilian brain has to dominate, but that is pure survival. Here's the tricky part. A story about a lion or the movie about a lion who does just that triggers the very same reaction. The brain cannot differentiate between reality and fiction. That's why we get scared in movies. You see where we're going with this? What you hear on the news, what you think about potential worst case scenario in the future might slow down or shut down our brain, our creativity. So then everything that goes through here is paired with fight, flight, or freeze, subconsciously, if we want it or not. That's why anxiety levels rise in times of insecurity and uncertainty. So most people focus on getting this out of the way again. At Genius Coaching, we do the opposite. We focus on reopening the freeway again. When the freeway is open, the detour can go away. Now you want to know how to do this. Of course, that's my $1 million tip for you today. And that's actually the first Genius exercise I want to do with you. And it's very simple, so fasten your seatbelt. It's not complicated. And it will blow your mind because it's so simple. By the way, my favorite definition of genius is simplicity beyond complexity. And this is one of the exercises I want to give you called crosswalking. As we know from stroke patients, the right side of the body is coordinated with the left side of the brain and vice versa. So if I move my right arm, my left side of the brain is activated. If I do a movement like this, moving both limbs on one side, I talk to one side of the brain only. And now the big trick happens. If I move right arm and left leg at the same time, like this, let's change angle a little bit so you can see more, like this. Now I move right arm, left leg at the same time. I cross the midline of the body. The brain has to cross the midline between the two halves. The freeway has to reopen. Pure physiology of the brain. And you can do more athletic versions, of course, not just the leisure way. You can do elbow crosswalks. Now more parts of the body are activated. And feel free to join me on the screen, of course, because we can talk
like a
while we
TikTok
speak
dance.
if you like.
Do that.
And Or you do the straight leg crosswalk like this. More flexibility, more activation, more brain activation.
Do like a dance?
So
No?
we know this since 1984. Those of you familiar with brain gym know brain gym. But the new thing is, this exercise is only 100% efficient if you know what's going on in your brain. While you do crosswalking, you're aware, I open the freeway in my brain now. That's when you start to feel a relief from the pressure, from the tension of anxiety. Because anxiety for sure brings your energy down, and you might feel that. You don't want to move that much anymore, just want to sit and do nothing. That enhances the anxiety. Anxiety does not like movement, but freeing yourself up from anxiety requires movement. That's the most effective way. There's no harmful side effect for this. You can do it as many repetitions as you want, as many times a day as you want. But now there's a major challenge coming up. How do you present this to your children? If you tell them do this, they will just look at you, might just look at you. What the hell are you talking about?
You're
That
crazy.
doesn't make sense to me at all. So here's the way I introduce it to parents over and over again. Please don't tell your children what to do with this. It's not gonna work. Here is the way it works. You do crosswalking just for yourself for a while. If it's a few days or a week, I don't care. And you feel the difference, the before and after. If you feel, I feel a little bit more lighthearted, I feel my energy is going up, I feel I can move again, I'm not paralyzed by my fear. Those are observations to capture, to notice, and then to communicate with your kids. And you can blame me. You went to this AAGT seminar, event number 7, this crazy genius coach showed up and told me I can impact my brain through walking. Yes, you can. Actually, every move you do is registered in your brain. So we need to really get back to our resources. This is the source, the root cause of anxiety. If it doesn't happen, anxiety dominates your brain, you're disconnected, literally. The 2 halves of the brain do not talk to each other. That paralyzes everything. If you're disconnected in your own brain, guess what? You cannot connect with yourself, with your action part, the executive part of the brain. You cannot connect with other people in a meaningful way because you're plagued by fear. So instead of focusing on everything else in terms of connectivity, we go to the root cause, connection with yourself. I hear a lot from teenage children these days. Sometimes I feel I'm not even myself anymore. Yeah. That means longer lasting anxiety is going on for quite some time. Yeah. When they get this, with this crosswalking, and they start slowly to trust it, and then you see the smile comes on in their face again. They're not so serious anymore. And body language never lies. So I keep it simple for you and invite you, please try it. There's no harmful side effect. You cannot go wrong. Dr. Paul Denison, who created this in 1984, he could cure dyslexia with crosswalking. So there's power in that. If you want to look up his website, braingym.com, there's testimonial after testimonial after testimonial for decades. I picked it up and I added the science because it has to be soundproof and physiologically solid, then we can trust it. So I want to pass this on to you today. Instead of giving you 15 exercises, I give you only this one because I want you to focus on it, on the own inner experience. I call it the inner game. That's when anxiety happens. And that's where you feel the relief and the difference. That is more authentic than any book you can read. Your own experience with anxiety, you have a grip on the monster. If you pass this on to your children, they pass it on back to you, what they experience. Then you have a real family communication going on and you become together, get together in mastering, managing, overcoming anxiety. A whole new level of communication in the family. In this situation right now, more needed than ever. Because you see what you said already in the grand opening, it's not a one-person show. We're not alone against the monster, we're together. As soon as you can spark this communication about connecting your brain, connecting with yourself, you will hear a lot of consequences that people give back to you. Now it's not as bad anymore. Now I kind of get a grip on it. Now I kind of can do this and it makes a difference. If you want to do some dance moves in a while, okay? Play your favorite music. Absolutely. Make it playful. Anxiety does not like play, obviously, okay? Can you make it playful and fun? But you know the science part of it, and that is crucial. Okay? This is physiological happening in the brain. And this cannot be up for discussion. That's what I like about it. It's rock solid. And every scientist in the world will agree with that because that's basic brain physiology. That's been around for a while. And that's a solid ground I like because you can expand into more other tools as well. But this is the foundation. So Heather, how does that sound to you so far?
I think that sounds great. When, a lot of times, I've actually suffered from anxiety like most people, but I mean, for as long as I can remember, I know my mom loves to tell the stories about my anxiety dreams where I had, including the ones where paper clips were chasing me and things like that. And, a lot of times I use all of those feelings I had as a kid, or even as an adult. Like, it's normal that we feel this. And I'll share that with my kids when they're feeling upset or anxious or any of those emotions. Cause we can feel that on a daily basis. We could feel, hopefully we can get it managed to where we're not feeling it daily. But, times like this, it's definitely at a higher rate than normal. So I definitely agree with all of that. And I think having an understanding as an adult of my own anxieties helps me relay that information to my own kids.
Thank you. Two very important things come out of this perception. One, you remember your old anxieties. I remember as a 5-year-old boy, I was afraid of my neighbor's little cute dog. And it took me decades to overcome that. There was no rational reason until I could have my own dog. It took me two decades, then slowly overcoming it. My point is, fear is deeply, deeply unconscious. So while you go through this COVID-19 challenge and the isolation going with it, you might face your old fears as well. Mm-hmm. Don't worry about it because they're deeply ingrained in our subconscious mind. But now let them come up. It's a safe environment to voice them and to speak about them. And the minute you use it with your children, this is just anxiety. This is not real life. A lift of emotions comes up because anxiety is a hiding place. It's a cover-up emotions. Once we talk about it, the more detailed emotions comes up. It's not anxiety, but I also feel disappointment. I also feel let down. I also feel lost. So all of a sudden we have a rich emotional discussion about the current situation.
Sometimes it's kind of hard to talk about our anxieties, right? So you guys have a hard time when you feel anxious, if you're not quite ready to talk.
Yeah.
How do we encourage our kids to talk when we are knowing that they are having anxiety? And you don't want to pressure them to talk to you and make them feel more anxious, but you know that it would help them if they did talk.
Yes, I totally agree with you, and I cannot encourage you enough. And if you're, as an adult, as an educator and a parent, you lead the way. I call it behavior modeling. This is my anxiety I feel today. What's yours? You take out the sting in something being wrong with you because you're anxious? No. I observe at Genius Coaching over and over again. Sensitive kids have more anxiety because they're emotionally more sensitive, and it's a blessing. So the cover-up of deeper emotions is actually a hiding place. And discussions or conversations or sharing feelings about anxiety opens these deeper, more subtle, more delicate feelings. And they need to be developed. And that's why, as ironically as it sounds, this situation right now might actually be an opportunity to voice these deeper feelings. Because in uncertain times, we need our own creativity to create our own future and stay in contact with everybody else. Because everything is just not as like it was a year ago. And the challenge emotionally is much bigger than intellectually. So what was triggered now sparks already a deeper conversation, everybody in education. And it starts in your families and in your closest circles. I would like for you all on the call, let's open the chat function a little bit and see what questions, observations you might have, you want to share with me or want to have input on.
We do have a couple questions here in the Q&A. So one was from Nina, and she wants to know, what if it's social anxiety? Because sometimes other people can make it worse. And you talked a little bit earlier about how you shouldn't be alone, you need to talk about it. So what if it is social anxiety?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Social anxiety is basically to have fear of other people in simple terms. And most likely people with social anxiety are very sensitive to other people's energy. They walk into a room, they feel exactly this person is down, this person has low energy, this person is disappointed. So I don't want to connect with that, not even with one spoken word. Also, what we notice with social anxiety, a lot of these people, children, young adults, and adults, are very intuitive. They can pick up on emotions just like that. And the challenge, the learning opportunity is to differentiate what are my emotions, and what are the other people's emotions. So a limited exposure to social life, which means 2 or 3 people, small circles, is a start for that. And we used to call them introverts in the classic psychology, introvert, extroverts. And you might have noticed this differentiation more and more is disappearing. We call them ambiverts. Depending on the situation, they can be introverted, and they can be outgoing. So if you want to check on that in terms of social anxiety, it might invite you to go online and research ambivert, what that means, and then look closer. There are certain situations that make me socially anxious, and sometimes I just make it up in my mind based on past experiences. It's very rich to explore that further because that gives a deeper insight into who you really are. So feel free to send me a link, an email. I'd be happy to go deeper with you. That's a very, very good question. Thank you for asking that.
And then could you remind us of what the name of the man who came up with crosswalking in 1984 is?
Dr. Paul Dennison, Dennison. He lives in Ventura, California. He started Brain Gym, gymnastics for the brain. I'm a certified instructor in his system because I love what he does. He brings it back to physiology. And then there's Dr. Carla Hannaford, one of his early students. She used to be a biology teacher in Hawaii, and she wrote the book, How All These Exercises Work Biologically, Physiologically. So she did all my research. I'm so thankful for her.
Yeah.
Dr. Carla Hannaford. And her book is called Smart Moves. Why Learning is Not All in Your Brain. It's a classic.
Okay, well, we have a lot of questions around anxiety. I knew this was going to be a topic that was very easy to discuss. Okay, so my son, who is 2E, gifted in ASD, will become very anxious and melt down every Sunday evening at the thought of school coming the next day. Is there a way to ease the anxiety around this weekly event?
Yes. First of all, teach him this crosswalk thing and do it as a prevention, like the title. Not when anxiety comes up, to prevent that. Because then when these tensions come up in the body, he's still ready to talk. Otherwise, anxiety will try to shut him down and go into panic mode. That's when it's almost too late. The brain is already hijacked. You need to prevent the hijacking of the brain and then be proactive on Sunday morning and have a conversation with him. I know the weekend comes to an end. How do you feel? So emotionally, you are proactive instead of reactive. And again, I know this is a short answer for a complex situation because everybody's anxiety is different and sends a different message. So feel free to contact me for a more in-depth discussion and like geniuscoaching.com, contact us, and then we can have a further evaluation of your situation. Thank you for the question. It was wonderful.
And I know on my end so in my house, I have my 2 kids and I also have 3 stepkids. And we have one child that's definitely is kind of the same as what we were just discussing. And Sundays, it hasn't been as bad lately. He actually likes virtual learning better than in-person learning. So but he would historically have a really bad Sunday. And so we were always just, we knew that it was going to come. We were always ready. We had our own anxiety about this coming as parents. But we would just make sure that, okay, what do we need to do to make sure the next day is successful? Okay, make sure he has eaten 3 meals the day before. And we, try to, keep the day Sunday before calm for him, because the second that he starts feeling like it's too loud or it's too Like noises definitely was a sensitivity, or too much stimulation was too much for him. So we always just made sure Sunday was a really calm day and make sure that we go into Monday. It didn't always work. Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't, but that was something that helped us when we were dealing with that. It's been pretty pleasant though this year, because he loves his online learning. So yeah, that's what's helped us. That helps you at all.
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent. And you mentioned already other additional nuggets. One, healthy food, regular meals.
Yes.
Very important, especially in these trying times, okay? Healthy food that really nourishes the body. Number one, enough hydration. The brain is super liquid like Jello. 90% is water. The rest of the muscle down is 70%. The brain and nervous system will respond first when it comes to lack of water. This by itself can cause anxiety, just dehydration. Lack of food for too long can cause anxiety just by itself. Okay, so these things have to be in place. And the third component is movement. Okay, physical movement. Move. And find fun movements to do. There can be dancing, there can be running, there can be swimming, but intense movement to move the body energy. That's how the cerebrospinal fluid regenerates and detoxes the brain. So that's another important thing to understand. There's not only one factor that is in causing anxiety. There's more than that. But I just mentioned these three foundations. Okay, movement, drinking, eating, and clean food, and keep the body clean as it is. And number four, especially for sensitive and gifted kids, might be supplementation. Make sure they get their vitamins, they get their minerals, because they're sensitive people. Every highly intelligent person is also highly sensitive. And that's something we emphasize a lot in Genius Coaching, because these two levels, intelligence and sensitivity, need to be on the same level. School does not necessarily enforce that. They focus very much on intellectual development. The sensitivity development is mostly part for the parents and the families. So a whole new set of training, developmental training comes into place for parents. And I call them recently parent coaches. They deserve a promotion, especially during COVID-19.
Well, and I think that teachers also are on that same bandwagon. They are really, a lot of times, right there and intuitive too, when they can see the kids that they're seeing 8 hours a day, that they can see the anxiety for them too. So yeah. I think everybody deserves a round of applause during this crazy situation that we're in, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have another, well, speaking along the lines of gifted students and anxiety, is it different in gifted students versus general?
Yes, more intense.
Okay.
Because they are more sensitive. Which is actually, in my world, a blessing in disguise. Because being more sensitive means it's not something to suppress, like we were taught in the past. When you're more sensitive, you get things earlier, before other people get it. So we need to develop this quality, this benefit of sensitivity, instead of encouraging them, no, tough it out, okay? Close your eyes and walk through this. You will survive this. That's all survival training. Sensitive kids, highly intelligent, gifted kids respond very, very negative to that. So to see the flip side of the coin, sensitivity is something very positive. Have a sense for yourself. It goes with my initial statement. Have a value for yourself, that you're a valuable, precious person no matter what's going on around you. Because that you are 100% in charge. So to reinforce it in them, that's what I mean with emotional development. To build that in him, you have a unique value. What is it? What are you good at? What do you like to do? So encouraging that in gifted, bright children is another very important thing in emotional development. That will be the leg number 5. Emotional encouragement, emotional value building is extremely important, especially in times of anxiety. Because again, anxiety covers it up. Emotions want to be developed, the healthy ones. And that gives each person a unique value, and also let them know, your children, you're not like me. I have a different makeup in my DNA. What is this uniqueness? That's another thing we have a chance to have a closer look in these times, because we are so much around our children. They all have needs, developmental needs outside of school, for sure. School can only cover this much of this person. So what is it that can be discovered in addition to school? How can we supplement what school does? Right now is a unique opportunity to do just that because our kids are more exposed to us, which means we can observe more. We have more chance to interact with them, and they look deep down, they look for emotional guidance in a new way. They want to be seen as people, not as children. So there's a lot that goes into it, which is a basic fundamental understanding of education. So we are in a big transition, and the current discomfort is just a necessary transition, but that's a different topic.
Okay, so another question we have here, how do we help students with anxiety with remote learning? They're not able to connect with other people face-to-face. Two of my highly functioning GATE students have major anxiety with remote learning, refusing to do the work or attend the Zoom meetings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very good question, and it's hard to answer without knowing the exact circumstances, because there should be people, there probably are people in their lives who have their trust, who they can go deeper with.
Yeah.
These are the core people, if it's our parents or a close family friend, whoever that is, to have these deeper conversations, what's hiding behind the anxiety monster. Because the online learning might trigger it, but there might be a fear of technology underneath it. There might be whatever. I just make that up on the fly. That would deserve a really close look what it is. Because once we find the roots, then it's easy to find the solution. It has to be customized.
Well, I know I won't call out anybody, but I know that in our house, we've had people that were having anxiety because they weren't able to access their information quick enough, and they felt like they were falling behind. So there's that fear of that. I think a lot of times it falls in line with a lot of the gifted attributes of perfectionism. It's like, I'm not keeping up, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, I'm failing, or, you know, things that are out of your control.
Somebody's rolling their eyes next to you.
I'm used to that. But you know, it is hard. Like, I think a lot of times gifted people, they want to have control, and all this is out of our control. So I think a lot of times that is the underlying root too. And it's just, you know, trying to help my kids figure out what is it that you can control versus things that are out of your control. Like, yes. Okay, you can't control that your class isn't showing up in your online program. Okay, right. What can you control? You can control emailing your teacher. You can control what you're doing with your other classes, and you know, things like that. That's the stuff that we can control. So, this falls in so many different aspects of our life too, versus just schooling. Like anxiety on anything. It's like, okay, what are we trying to control here versus what is out of our control? So.
Yeah, brilliant. That's another very fundamental part that leads to the second part of our conversation about frustration. Because first of all, perfectionism is a very close friend of anxiety. You never can do things perfect. You can do things excellent. And that's a big difference, because the Latin word for perfect means concluded, done. And you cannot improve a concluded project. It's done. However, excellent means it's an open system. It can be excellent today and more excellent tomorrow. It's an entirely different shift in mindset. We are so trained to do things right or wrong. What we do a lot at Genius Coaching encourages them make a lot of mistakes. We do games with them where we encourage them make mistakes and then laugh about it.
You guys ever make mistakes?
Yeah, like every day.
I think it's normal to make mistakes, right? We're all human.
Because you learn from your mistakes too.
Exactly.
So like, if you never made any mistakes, then you wouldn't grow as a person.
You can't make, I read a great article today that says failure cannot be a sign of unintelligence, but it should be a springboard for defining what your actual abilities are going forward and working with that. So,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So,
yes.
But yeah, even moms make mistakes, dads, uncles, aunts, yes. Everybody, right?
And that makes everybody so human. And that's what we need to approach anyway. I call it humanizing education. Because there's a whole book out there called Failing Forward. And the title says it all, okay? You cannot grow if you don't make mistakes.
You've heard that book before?
Yeah.
Her teacher talks about it.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Hi to your teacher. It's a great person.
So
humanizing the experience. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, back to the movement to help with anxiety. And you were talking about the crosswalk.
Yeah.
So would walking and swinging arms be as effective, or?
Yes, but the important thing is to cross the midline of the body. Okay, when we did in a classroom setting, you can do it online too. Children love to do this exercise and teach to each other because they are so proud to present it to each other. What I just did to you can be done online. You can give them the crosswalk speech and then demonstrate it for him. Okay, that makes you as somebody who's an expert in something new, and kids love to learn something new.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Riley just mentioned that they did yoga, and that actually does a lot of crosswalk moving.
Yeah,
when you're
like
doing.
we would like do that.
Yep.
And like we
And
did
that also helps with digestive issues and things like that.
No, we
so.
did that on my online English class. My English teacher, she asked us to, she was like, we know as teachers that a lot of the students are feeling a lot of stress right now. So she had us all get up and like stretch and do stuff like that. And I think that was probably helpful.
Did everybody like it in the classroom?
Yeah, nobody seemed to like complain about it or anything. I think everyone was like, it was nice to just have like a break from it because it was like the first day. So it was definitely kind of stressful. So I think it was nice for everyone.
I mean, you can even do something like that online, I would think, like if you're noticing that, I mean, I guess it depends on each classroom, but if they're doing it, if the camera's on, or if you just even do a 5-second movement break while you're doing your WebEx, I feel like that would probably help. Would that be helpful to get up in the middle of your WebExes and do some movement?
Yes. We call it fit for learning breaks. Okay. Every 10, 15 minutes, move the body because that enhances learning. Very important. And whatever the move is, I like the move you showed us, okay, with the reaching down to the floor and doing crosswalk. Absolutely, endless variations. And we encourage kids, make up your own, make it creative. That's when they buy in.
So that being said, and this question actually really does speak to me a lot because we have some video game junkies in our house as well. Do you have suggestions for fun movements that a middle schooler might like to, who likes to consider himself a gamer and prefers to spend his time playing video games with friends?
Yes, but then he needs to get up once in a while and do physical movements to be more effective in his video games.
Maybe he needs to mimic some of those Fortnite dances.
Exactly, because nothing replaces physical movement. The negative part to describe it is sedentary lifestyle slows down learning. Okay, even if you want to be good at video games, it helps a lot to do exercise in between, to be mentally sharp again. Otherwise, we go to sleep and are almost paralyzed by video games.
Yeah. Well, we our video gamer, we have him check the mail for us every day. That is his chore. So he has to get up and go outside, check the mail, and so that is his. Sometimes that's his only physical activity, but he also is, he's pretty active. He does walk around the house a lot. So I think that does help. You can usually tell when he's having a more anxious day because he will frequently circle the entire house from my office to his dad's office to the other kids' rooms. But I think maybe finding some sort of activity that's his will help him in like checking the mail. I mean, that was such a simple idea, but ever since we started doing that, it's helped with his anxiety a little bit too.
And I think also with that, like, don't make it like they have to do it. Like, don't tell them like, oh, you've been playing video games all day, you need to get up and move, because that might kind of seem like an attack towards them. Like that might,
So you don't like when parents come at you with the negative before?
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe if they were just like, maybe if you're like, oh, it's so nice outside, why don't you go take a walk or something? Or,
oh, hey, I need to get the mail, but I'm really busy right now. Can you do that for me?
Right. So maybe just like let it go into their lives more naturally rather than it being like forced, I guess.
For Gavin, go feed the dogs or take the dogs for a walk, right? You love to do anything with your dogs, right? Yeah.
Does your dog like to run? Gavin?
Well, one dog likes to run, and one dog, we call him our accessory dog. He doesn't like to run.
He likes to sleep all day.
So whatever stimulates him in the more intense movement, that's my point, okay? Because getting the mail might be just minimalistic, but that's a minimum of movement we need. But there's one more aspect to anxiety which we need to address. And that is intensity.
Yeah.
okay? Anxiety can be intense if it's directed towards you, to the inside. What's missing, the flip side, is intense movement on the outside. Intensity is one thing. Gifted kids have a lot. They want to do something now and want to accomplish it now, which means there's an intensive, oh, thank you, I get some nodding. There's an intense desire to get stuff done. That intensity needs an outlet. And that's whatever that is, if it's jumping jacks or push-ups or swimming or running or whatever it is, you need to enforce that. Okay.
And even things like, what do you like to do to kind of get that intensity out? Do you like your creativeness?
Oh, yeah, I think just anything that like gets your brain like thinking of something else besides what's making you feel anxious. Like sometimes when I'm feeling anxious, like personally, I like to like work on like art projects, like painting, just things that make my brain focus on other things besides what's making me feel anxious. I just need to like remove myself from the situation, and that makes me feel better.
What about you, Gavin? You just started doing something new.
What?
Learning. What have you started learning?
Crochet, yeah.
Do you like doing the crocheting?
Ah.
And I think crocheting's good too because it's like so repetitive and it's just really like getting you focused on something else.
And it's calming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, these are very valuable things that are closer to meditation, to really relax and be that kind of intensity. On the flip side, there's an outgoing intensity for extroverts as well. One favorite game we use is called the ice cube game. I want to pass that on to you as well. So you get a bowl of ice from the freezer, go to the backyard, then you grab a handful of ice and smash it to the floor as much as you can, full speed, over and over again, and make it a family event, because everybody might have some pent up frustration and anxiety. So, because when you do it over and over again, full speed, first of all, you get the full intensity out of anger, of frustration, of anxiety, everything that's built up over the years, of the weeks, or the day. And the subconscious learning we give to our kids and ourselves is, I can destroy something without causing harm, without hurting anybody. And that is a rare opportunity to do that. It prevents violence if you look deeper from an educational standpoint. And it does it in a harmless, playful way. That's what we want. Be creative. I'll just give you this one again. There's many, many more ways to go. But this intensity needs to get out of the body physically. Whatever you do for this is yours, but the ice cube game is amazing. And after this, discuss it, what you felt with it. You might be surprised what you hear. So the anxious boy on a Sunday afternoon, throw a cup of ice cubes with him, okay? And then have a conversation about Monday morning. The sting is taken out of it. The pressure that otherwise goes inwards is directed to where it needs to go, which means outwards. So these are things we do a lot, and the relief is instant because people love to play, adults and kids alike. And that's a language we teach them. That's actually the first language we learned, all of us, before we learned our native language. We learned to play. And play was our main way to express ourselves. When did we forget that? It's time to revive that, especially in this situation that seems to be so limiting. We have a whole new way of creativity when it comes to play. And video games just is a virtual picture of real play. Real play is three-dimensional. And we need to bring it back, not to push out the video games. They have their place and this thing. But if they take over too many hours of the day, it's just out of balance. That's all there is to it. It's no right and wrong. So to reintroduce physical games with fun, that's a big topic.
So you can do that at home and in school, it seemed like. I mean, you can come up with many different ways to create play to ease the frustration and anxiety.
Yes. So I call on all of you teachers and parents on this call, be creative. Contact me if you need ideas, okay? And then let's run with that and see what works. That's why I want to have a 5 o'clock meeting on Monday evening at 5 o'clock as a parent roundtable to share the best practices and then pass it on to each other. I want to get a communication going beyond this event today because it's ongoing. It won't go away very soon. We have a big need to make up for what's lacking right now and to have a healthy, emotional, physical development for our children.
That would be great, definitely. Well, we have like 10 more minutes left here, and I have a few more questions that I would like to, I think we'll get some answers to. So, and this one I thought was a really great question. Some students have never experienced stress, and now they are. How do we teach skills, or how do we teach them to recognize when they're feeling stressed?
First of all, ask them, how do you feel stressed? If you never experienced that, they might not remember. They might have suppressed stress in their previous life. They might have lived in a bubble before that. Again, it depends totally on the circumstances, how this plays out. But there is something where helpful stress intensity is welcome. If it's too much and not related to a real situation, artificial stress is damaging, which means it's a great moment of emotional education to differentiate what is a healthy challenge and what is a stress. What is damaging for the nervous system? What is actually something to grow and expand and unfold? So I think it's a great time to make this differentiation and to educate. But again, it has to happen individually in a customized way. And that's why every situation is different. Every anxiety is different. Every frustration is different. And it's so worth to have a closer look in a playful way.
Sorry about answering in the chat too. And my daughter is spell checking me as I'm typing. So, okay. So Nina just mentioned that her daughter does scavenger hunts, like quick, go find a spoon, and they love it. And Riley said that they also do that in her high school classes. So it works well for all age groups. So yes. I think that's a great idea to use an online learning. Okay, so we have another question. Would the ice cube game be appropriate when a student is experiencing anxiety during what we would call a meltdown? So could you introduce the ice cube game while they're already in a meltdown? Preferably before the meltdown, okay? Because all the exercises give you have a main focus on prevention. In this meltdown itself, they might be more horrifying. They might actually exacerbate the meltdown. So I would definitely introduce it in a relaxed environment, play, because you will see the meltdowns will be shorter to begin with. Then if you do it on a regular basis, like with a workout, all these tools and games I have available for you are not meant to be done only once. They work if they are repeated over and over again and integrated in somebody's life. And then if you are proactive, then the ice cube game is fun and takes the edge out of it. Chances are the meltdowns won't happen anymore. Over time, not in a week or two, okay? Everything takes time for sure. It took a while to build up to this intensity of a meltdown. It took some years of emotional development to get there. It takes a while to get out of there. And we can have professional support to make this transition faster, for sure. Okay, next question. I've been writing out steps for my daughter about how to overcome her anxiety when she feels academically challenged. I tried to talk her through steps, but I'm not sure if this is helpful. If I keep practicing with her, am I giving her a valuable strategy? My first question is, what does she have to say? So we need her feedback, how she receives these directions, how much of that she implements, how much of that she embraces emotionally and wants to do them, versus has to do them to please her mom. So there's a very complex intricacies to explore. Does the child just please me in order to be left alone? Or is it something I really want to do? And that is a world of a difference. So it reminds me of a 9-year-old I've been coaching for a year ago. She was always, her parents very athletic, running and swimming, everything. She was kind of trotting along, but not really. One day she watches a YouTube video, jumps out of her seat. What is this? And this was fencing. She watched every YouTube video she could see about fencing. And she said, when can we buy the gear? And she bought the gear and she went to the training. Within 6 weeks, the trainer, the coach called the parents and, what did you do with this child? In 6 weeks, she does already advanced moves. And 5 years later, she qualified for the American Olympic team at 15 years old. So my point is, once you figure that out, what the child does want to do from the inside out, you won the game. And it takes every effort necessary and every patience you need and every sharp observation skills,
mainly deep listening skills beyond the words, beyond the anxiety, to figure out what are the nuggets in this gifted child, inside and outside school. The academic part might just be one piece of the giftedness. That's why I liked your question so much and your comment. There might be a big part outside of academia that your daughter never even talked about. But to discover the whole person, that is worth every investment in the world.
Definitely. And I could totally attest to the fact that sometimes as a parent, I really want them to like my ideas. I really want them to. And then but I do have to remind myself that they also have their thoughts and feelings about things, and we need to communicate better about, all right, maybe you don't like this so much. Let's try something different. I have to swallow my pride a little bit. So I definitely can feel that.
Yes.
Next question. My gifted child is having difficulties wanting to do homework because it's not fun. Do you have any suggestions on how to get them to retrain their focus from summer to online schooling?
Yeah, that's $1 million question. And the long answer, the short answer is there's no one solution for that. Because again, the intrinsic motivation is very, very complex. And the first thing I want you to do is to ask what is really going on and what you think is going on and what's really this child's concern on a deeper level. Because it's not just a transition. I call it how to survive school. And sometimes it comes down to a single thing. With recently a parent who had this issue with her teenage daughter, and I asked the teenage daughter directly, so what do you want to get out of high school? She said, I don't know. I said, I know one thing I want to get out for sure, your high school diploma. And she said, yes. I said, now let's talk. How do you get from being 14 years old to a high school diploma? Whole different discussion. But she had a chance to see that school is no longer this life-consuming monster in my life that I need to sacrifice my time for. I have much more to do than that, and I can get done what school requires in a certain amount of time. All of a sudden, the pressure was off, and she could actually breathe because she felt heard and understood as a whole person. That's one solution. And like I said, everybody is different, but sometimes it's very important to have the bigger picture, especially for gifted kids, beyond school, because all of them I've been working with since 2003 have a bigger picture than school can offer, even the best school. The most important thing is they like their teachers. This is not gonna go away with online learning. The online instructor still plays a key role if it's live class.
It definitely does. I can definitely attest to that. Like, you have to like your teachers in person and online and feel like you're connecting with them and engaging. So, everybody's got their strengths. I know that definitely some people present better when they're in person as well, because you feed off the audience. So this has definitely been a struggle for so many people. I know I can see frustration on everybody's faces, teachers, parents, students. Yes. So speaking of stressed parents, how do you deal with kids that are living with stressed parents?
Well, the famous thing is when you're out on a plane ride, what you are told every single time is, in case of emergency, pull down your oxygen mask first and then help the person next to you. Stressed parents normally are emotionally more mature and developed as adults, of course. They need to find ways, and I'm happy to help them, to manage their own stress load first, to find outlet for their own intensities, to find out, because chances are, as parents of gifted children, they might be gifted themselves, just based on the chromosomes. So we need to figure that out. Once they have a deeper understanding who they are, then they can approach their children from a new place. And that's normally the hidden blessing in disguise, so to speak, that underneath the stress pattern, there's a valuable human being that wants to be discovered on a bigger scale. And then we have a new communication going on with the children, and stress dissolves all around in the family.
Definitely agree with that one for sure. So,
yeah.
Well, I know that this is going to be this is always a lifelong thing, learning how to deal and manage the stress, because, you might fix a stressor that's happening to you right now, or you might manage your anxiety right now, but there's going to be something in the future. And so having this toolbox different ideas is such an essential thing to have in any human's life. So like just keeping those in for the next time that you're feeling like anxious or stressed is important. So this is great. And I know that there's a lot of different tools out there. And I know that you'll probably speak more at our Parent Institute about this stuff when we are doing that on October 17th. So I definitely encourage everybody to join us for that.
Yeah.
But we are at 5 o'clock. And I would like to make sure that we don't have any other major pressing questions or otherwise to be thoughtful of everybody's time. We probably are going to leave it here, right, Otto?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on this call. And I wanted to add as much value as I can today. Let's stay in touch. Look at your follow-up email. There are 3 ways to stay in touch with me and Genius Coaching. I would love to have this ongoing communication going on. And the topic at the Parent Institute will be the joy of being gifted. It's supposed to be fun and not a burden. And that's my deepest conviction.
I love that. And I'm very excited to see all of that information. So as promised, so this session is going to be recorded and will be shared on our website. So if you go to the AAGT Informs page on our website, there is a link to where all the recording videos are, and also our YouTube channel, which is linked on our website as well up in the left-hand corner. If you go to that and subscribe, you will get notification when the recordings are put onto our YouTube channel. That way you can share this with your friends and family and teachers and whoever else you need to that might want to hear a discussion about anxiety. So that being said, thank you to everybody for joining us. We hope that we're going to leave with some valuable tools today, and be sure to go and take our survey at this bit.ly right here, which will also be emailed out after the event. And if you need your professional development certificate, that will come after you fill out the survey. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Otto.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you for having me. And have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, you too. Have a good evening, everybody.